Hi, thanks for joining. My name is Kara Goodwin, and I'm the host of the Meditation Conversation podcast. And I want to talk about a critical element to your spiritual development, which is authenticity. It is really stepping into exactly who you truly are beyond the layers of expectations of who you think you're supposed to be. And one of the things that can happen when we're on a spiritual voyage is that we look to other people and we emulate them. And this actually happens in every corner of our lives, whether we're in spiritual development or not. But as we emulate people, we may look to somebody else to say, okay, well, they've gotten to a certain point that I want to be at. So I'm going to follow their lead. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who are ahead of us who can help to pull us along. And that's wonderful, but they aren't you. And so be careful about learning from people versus copying people. And I was having breakfast with a friend a few days ago, and it was really interesting. This wasn't about spiritual development, but she was just talking about how she had just been listening to, I think she said it was a podcast or something. And this person was advising the listeners to, if they go out to, let's say, breakfast with somebody, that if they order the same thing that the person that they're with orders, then that will encourage trust. The person will subconsciously trust them more and be more like there will just be a deeper connection with them, something like that. And I questioned that because I said, well, that's not authentic. If you're just copying somebody in order to try to build trust, you're actually working against yourself. So we're constantly giving off so much energy, so many clues to who we really are to everybody all around us. And people pick it up on different levels. So there are people who are really, really sensitive who will know right away that we're not being authentic. Um, and they'll know why. Like they'll know that you have an agenda. They'll know that you didn't really want to order that. Like they may have that level of information. Most people aren't going to pick it up at that level using this example, but this is just one example, but it goes for any area of your life where there will be people who, no matter what you say and no matter what you give as your reasoning for how you're behaving, they will know the true reason. They're just very, very sensitive. Um, Other people won't and I'd say most people wouldn't pick up on it. They wouldn't necessarily, in that particular example, say, "Oh, they're ordering and I can tell that that's not what they actually want, and they're doing this for another reason. They're trying to manipulate me." They wouldn't recognize it on that level, but they're still picking up on cues that you're giving. So they're still feeling um, something that hints to them that you're not being authentic. And again, different levels and layers of what people are able to actually consciously understand, but there's a lot of subconscious communication happening on both ends. We don't realize we're giving it off, and they may not realize exactly what they're picking up, but they will pick up something because you're not resonating in an authentic way. You're going against your own desires, your own authenticity. And so that changes your vibration. And they will pick up on that unstable or inauthentic vibration on some level. So they may walk away, in that case, they may walk away from the lunch and something's just not quite right. Maybe you ticked every box of advice that somebody gave you in terms of how to make a connection with somebody that's supposed to make them trust you more, and you went line by line and you checked every box, but you were actually not being authentic, and that is what's going to come through. And I can imagine that if you're watching this, you have had experiences like this where you're engaging with somebody and they're nice on paper, they're really nice on paper, but there's just something there that you don't know why you don't trust them, or you don't want to engage with them further. You don't want to give them your business, whatever it might be. You can't quite put your finger on it. And it very well could be they've gone to some sort of training program and they've tried to learn how to connect with people, and they're doing it in an inauthentic way, and you're picking up on that, and it makes you actually not trust them because they're not being authentic. Um, and so this also goes into the who we give our authority to. So again, my friend was just listening to, I don't even know if this was on the radio, if it was a podcast. I know she was listening to it right before we met. And, I imagine what she was listening to, they were saying there are studies that back this up. Research shows that if you order the same thing at a meal, then it's more likely that they're going to trust you. There is some study, I imagine. Again, this is secondhand, but I hear this all the time. I see this all the time where people have these studies, and it's really convincing to us when studies show something. But it's up to us to really feel into any advice that we're given, even what I'm giving you right now. Feel into it, see how it feels for you, see how it measures up with your own experience. But in this case, somebody had done some study and this was the output that they gave. And it goes against our authenticity. And our authenticity is incredibly important. The whole point of you being in a body, experiencing yourself on this planet right now, is to be who you are. It's to be the expression that you are. It's to be the highest expression of your soul, your spirit. And if you're looking outside of yourself to try to figure out how to do that and how to be that, then you're actually trying to express somebody else. So it's an interesting dichotomy, because when we're developing spiritually, of course, we're trying to better ourselves, which means that we need assistance. We need, we've got a lot of layers to peel off of us in order to show who we really are. And it does take guidance, mentorship. It has a place, but the point is to show more of who you truly are, show more of your own soul, which is going to have a different expression than somebody else. And so if I've seen this and even experienced this in spiritual organizations where everybody's dressed alike. Everybody speaks a very similar way. They're calling each other beloved, or they're saying things that we don't really say outside of that organization, but they're anyway, they're all kind of copying each other. And again, we have to question if that's really our authentic self shining through, or if we're just modeling these, if we're parroting through our actions, through our words, through our interests. I know one of the lineages that I was in early on, there were a lot of different expressions in that organization in terms of the types of art that they sold and that they created, and the music, and it really was not reflective of my interests. But because I trusted this organization to guide me, I kind of thought like, oh, this is what is spiritual. This is what I need to like in order to really be on my path. And over time, And with some experience, I realized like, no, it's okay for me to like what I like and to, um, and that can change. That changes as we develop. But, it's kind of like, well, it's not just that this one type of music is the only thing that's going to get me to experience my own soul, my own spirit. Um, particularly if I'm like trying to like it and I don't actually really like it because that doesn't spark that joy. So, anyway, I hope that this all makes sense. And I just encourage you to keep moving forward and keep expressing yourself authentically, knowing that that will create changes within you. But it's really about your changes really emanating who you really are in the most beautiful and highest way. So, thank you so much for watching this. Many, many blessings, and I'll see you next time.